Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, smartphone gaming has been surging in popularity for some time now and shows no sign of slowing down. And because smartphones themselves are getting more powerful and faster and the screens on them are getting higher resolution and better to look at in general, the games we're playing on smartphones are getting more sophisticated and fully featured also. But there's a problem in smartphone gaming, and that is because these games are getting more and more sophisticated and more fully featured gaming console-like type of games are appearing on our smartphones, they're requiring more and more sophisticated control schemes. Certainly over and above the poke and swipe and tilt kind of mechanics that many smartphone games use these days. No, we're talking about full-on proper thumbsticks and buttons and stuff. And when game designers try and get around this limitation by including those virtual on-screen thumb pads and button-in controls, they just don't work very well. And the experience of these virtual on-screen controls can often be so bad it will ruin an otherwise well put together game. And speaking personally, I hate virtual on-screen controls with the fiery passion of 10,000 exploding supernova. So that's the problem. And here's one of the solutions. It's called the MOGA from PowerA, and it's one of a growing list of console-style gaming control devices that has been designed to work with your smartphones and stuff. And as you may be able to guess, it solves the issue of sophisticated games requiring more sophisticated control schemes and physical buttons and thumbsticks and stuff by just giving them to you. The basic layout is very much like the Xbox 360's. A, B, X, Y buttons sit parallel to a flat axis thumbstick, similar to the circle pad you'll find on a Nintendo 3DS, and below the buttons is a second thumbstick, indispensable for many types of games out there, including FPSs and twin-stick shooters of course, and you get a start and select pairing of buttons too. Up top is a pair of nice clicky digital shoulder buttons. They're a little slender for my tastes, but it's something missing from, or poorly implemented on, many competing products out there, so they're very welcome here nonetheless. The whole thing is light and thin and fairly comfortable to hold, having shallow grips moulded in that also house the AAA batteries that keep its Bluetooth connection to your phone humming along for up to 18 hours a pair. You can use it as is with your phone, or indeed your tablet, propped up in a dock or stand of some kind, or you can flip up the center panel and utilize the built-in expandable clamp grip to mount your phone directly to it. And it expands enough to even accommodate the growing list of obnoxiously large smartphones that are out there. In use, the gamepad is comfortable, responsive, and generally pleasant feeling. The thumbsticks are a little more slippery and resistive than I personally prefer, but it was never actually a problem in gameplay. The layout works well, the buttons have a very positive click, and while fairly small, never felt clumsily or uncomfortably small. In short, it's a very familiar gamepad setup that works very well with a wide variety of games. Now, on the subject of games, they do have to be designed for use with the external controller in mind, of course, and not all games are. Not even the ones that try and fake this exact kind of control scheme with their on-screen virtual control garbage. The developers have to build into their games the specific compatibility for the MOGA themselves, and the makers of MOGA do provide an API framework to make this as easy as possible for the game devs out there. So there is a growing list of very good games that are fully compatible. And with devices like the Ouya console itself, an Android-based gaming device featuring a standard game controller with a layout very similar to this, more and more developers will be building their games with proper physical game control schemes in mind from the very get-go. The MOGA is made to work in conjunction with a complementary app, which is free of course. It steps you through the easy setup and syncing when you first get it, and it also serves as a convenient way to find and purchase games that have the controller compatibility built in. You even get a couple of freebies included when you buy the MOGA. And I also discovered there's a fistful of emulators out there that will work absolutely perfectly with the MOGA too, so you can get your old school console gaming on in the way it should be played. Well, almost. The MOGA doesn't have a traditional digital D-pad, so games like Street Fighter here don't quite play as easily as they should. When you're stuck trying to perform the Dragon Punch combo with an analog thumbstick, it's not ideal. However, pretty much every other emulated game I tried worked absolutely flawlessly. There is also, apparently, an app that will, if your Android handset is rooted, allow the MOGA to work with many apps and games that don't natively support it. I have not tested this, and as with all unofficial third-party hacky workaround type apps that need root, your mileage may vary in its effectiveness and safety. But as an out-of-the-box experience, I really like the MOGA. It's a good size without being too small and fiddly or being too bulky to conveniently carry with you, which is kind of important for a controller that's supposed to be used with your mobile phone after all. It even comes with a nice carry case to keep it from getting all scuffed up in your bag while you are carrying it about. The controls feel solid and well built, as is the construction in general. No squeaks, rattles or creaks under torsion, and the clamp feels strong and secure, as well as folding away quite nicely when you don't need it. And the battery life was pretty great. The box says up to 18 hours of play from a set of AAA alkalines, and that seems like a reasonably accurate number to me. And the best news is the MOGA is more than a simple kind of gimmick thing. Many games really do play so much better with proper physical controls. In fact, it can take games that I had previously considered unplayably crappy thanks to the inept implementations of on-screen thumb pads and turn them into much more pleasant gaming experiences. It makes them worthwhile. I do wish it had a traditional cross-type digital D-pad, because I do love my old school games, but with one of those slapped on you would pay the price in extra size, and this is all about portability and compromises. And as I mentioned, the thumbsticks are just slightly more resistive than I tend to like. I also wish it worked with Apple devices, but at least for now, this little beastie is all about living in Android world. But aside from those small things, I've no real issues with it at all. It's a very well built device, and by a large margin, the very best smartphone game controller I have ever come into contact with. So that is the MOGA from PowerA, and it is absolutely worth taking a look at if you are a gamer with an Android addiction, and I am Blunty, and I am absolutely worth considering. If you like the stuff and things on which I post here on YouTube, you should subscribe so you see all of them. If YouTube ever gets the subscribe feature working properly again, where actually people get to see the stuff they're subscribed to instead of having to click through buried mountains of crap. And now I'm off on a side rant. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.